there, how's it going? This is Rishabh and I welcome you to yet another video. So in this video, we are going to talk about the front end layer of a web application. So in one of my previous videos, I talked about the Nginx Web Server. We talked about how to set it up and we talked about what exactly is it used for. So this video is more about learning the front end layer of the web applications, right? And Nginx is just a component which we are using. So there are many web servers out there. You do not have to stick to Nginx only. You may end up using some other web server also. That is absolutely not a problem. But because we already have a video which is done on Nginx, so I thought I would just expand on the knowledge which we have already gained, and I will talk about the front-end layer. I'll just use Nginx to host my web pages, to serve my web pages, to be more precise, right? So in that Nginx video, we already saw that we can serve the HTML pages which are written in a specific directory, which are present in a specific directory. In our case, that directory was www. So here you can see that I have created an index.html page where I have written nothing but hello Nginx, right? Now, this is what is getting printed here. That is hello Nginx. But Nginx, apart from serving these pages, is doing absolutely nothing in this video. It's not the agenda of this video, right? In this video, we are going to talk about front-end as a whole. We will try to cover some crucial concepts. By no means this is going to be a comprehensive video because I don't think I'll be able to touch upon all the topics there are in the front end. But I would say just the tip of the ocean, because front end in itself is vast. You must have heard about n number of technologies which only cater to the front end. So we are by no means going to cover all of them. Now let's see how does a web application looks like. So let me just open some website. Let's say I open 404.org. Now as a user, if you see that all that we have to do is we just have to add this address in the URL bar and some magic happens behind the scenes and we get a good looking page on the front end, right? As you can see that we get a page on the front end which is looking beautiful. This is true for any website in the world. For example, let's say if you go to YouTube, you will see something coming up. Or let's say if you go to google.com, let me just type google.com and you see that a web application comes up. So on a larger level, let me try to do this. So this is one step where I type google.com, right? And as I mentioned that there is some magic which is happening behind the scenes, which is not visible to us. What is visible to us is, let's say this HTML page, which is having some interactivity. So what do I mean by this page being interactive? So as soon as I click here, you can see that a lot of options are shown to me, right? What else is the interactive component here? I can type something with the help of my keyboard. I can hit enter. Again, some magic will happen behind the scenes. So let's say, let me type something like, so let's say Cricket World Cup 2023, right? If I hit here, a new page is presented to me and even this page is interactive. Now, how is this page interactive? Well, I can click on any of these links and I will go to that specific web application. I will see yet another page. So as you can see that a whole lot of interaction is taking place here. Now, similarly, if I go to another website, let me actually give you another example here of something which is known to all of you. Let's say LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is also a web application. If I click on start a post, you can see that like I clicked here and this new, what should I call it? Whether it's a pop-up, but I think this is more of a modal. So you can see that another component came up where I can write some text. Once I have written this text, I can click on this post button, and this post will magically go to thousands of people who are either following me or let's say searching for the kind of content which I'm posting. So in this fashion, you can see that how web applications are interactive, right? You can interact with the web applications. Now, let me be very clear that it's not possible only because of front end. So web applications are actually divided into multiple layers, right? We have the front end. So if I have to talk about what exactly front end is as a layer, well, all the visible components, like all the components which you can see, you can interact with through this browser, they're all the visible components. They all comprise the front end side of a web application, right? But a web application is much more than just the front end. Front end is just one of the many layers which are there to a web application. So on the backend side, we have things like the app servers. We have things like the databases which are storing all the information, and many other components responsible for processing a lot of different things. Thousands of services are running to get you the data which you're looking for. So you can always search. Like Google is having a huge database. It basically indexes all the websites or all the web pages which are available on the web to provide you with what you are looking for. So what I'm trying to say is that front end is that portion of, let's say, a complete web application which is visible to you, with which you can interact, right? There's a lot of complexity behind the things or behind the scenes, which you may or may not be aware of depending upon, let's say, how curious you are, right? Now, and you are not even concerned, like as long as you're able to get your work done, you don't need to worry about all the complexity. But if you happen to be a technologist, then of course you may have to worry a bit about like what all is going behind the scenes. And in this video, we are just starting to scratch the surface. Now let me show you some of the very basic things first. So let's say I am on this HTML page. Like in terms of being an HTML page, this is also an HTML page. This ChatGPT website is also using some sort of HTML. This is also using some form of HTML. This 404 website is also using some HTML. Then this Google web page is also using some form of HTML, right? HTML in some form or the other, or in one way or the other. The reason being that browser has got just one, I shouldn't say just one quality, but one of the qualities of browser is that you give browser something written in HTML. So HTML means hypertext markup language. Yeah, so you give browser something which is written in HTML, and it returns you a fancy page which the users can see and interact with. That's the best part. And that's perhaps the reason that in today's cloud native world, browser happens to be one of the most used application. Whether you have to edit some docs, whether you have to write some code, whether you have to edit a video, whether you have to, let's say, sing a song, you will find online ways of doing all of these activities. How are these possible? Well, because you are able to interact with the web applications, you are able to interact with the web pages. So what we are trying to slowly do is, we are just trying to, let's say, peel this onion layer by layer. We will understand what all is going on to make the web applications function the way they do, right? And when I say web applications, I should be very honest that we will try our best to cover not only, let's say, the front-end component of it, but we will also try to go towards the back-end side of the things. We will try to, let's say, uncover all the mysteries which are there, which actually makes the web applications to serve millions of users every day. I don't think millions is the right term. I would say billions of users every day. So you would see that, like, you can always check how many web pages are searched every day. I could have actually provided you with these statistics to make this video more interesting. But yeah, I'm sorry about it. I forgot about adding those statistics. You can always go and do a Google search. I think because we already have ChatGPT, maybe we can ask ChatGPT how many web pages are viewed around the world every day. So obviously it will tell based on its data. Yeah, I was coming to this September 2021. So it says that it's difficult to, it's constantly changing. But yeah, the number of internet users as of 2021, 4.9 billion internet users, which is huge. Then platforms like Google process billions of searches per day. So yeah, I mean, this basically tells if Google is processing billions of searches per day, it shows that billions of pages are being rendered every day, right? Billions of pages are being rendered every day. Now, well, if you are, let's say, a backend developer, you may ask whether I really need to know about what's going on the front end. I would still say yes, because knowing about the complete picture or knowing about, let's say, an end-to-end thing really helps you in a lot of ways in your career. So yeah, let me first talk about a few things about the browser. So we enter a web address here and we see the corresponding page loading. And as I mentioned, that it is the job of the browser to fetch the contents from some remote server to your local machine from the internet, right? And then render that page and display the contents of the page based on what is written inside of the page. Now you will say that you're not able to see any kind of HTML here. You're only able to see this hello Nginx, which is written, and it is written in some good font. That is all you can see. So let me actually talk about the very first thing, which I think which can be a learning for you if you're not already aware about it. So the very first thing is that if you double click, not double click, but right click is the more precise term. You can always do view page source. Let me click on this. As you can see, h1 hello Nginx h1. So this is the HTML page which is responsible for this page. Can you see the ChatGPT code? Of course you can do that. You can just right click here. You can do view page source. And this is the source code which is responsible for rendering this page. Is there an HTML corresponding to this? Of course, yes. You can just go ahead and view page source. And this is the page source which is rendering to this website. So every website on the internet, like for every website on the internet, you can always view the source. Of course, only for the learning purposes, and you can see what exactly is going behind the scenes. So this is the web, you can say the page source for this specific page. So like, as I mentioned, that all the websites are made up of what? HTML at the core, then CSS, and then JavaScript. You will always hear about these three terms, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. When it comes to JavaScript, you will further get to know about things like React. You will hear about things like Angular. You will hear about things like Vue.js, right? And then there are many other frameworks also, like Ember.js, for example, like Next.js, like Gatsby, so many technologies. You may ask, why do we need so many different technologies? So we will try to answer that question as well. But first, let's come to the three fundamental technologies, that is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So very first thing, let me first talk about HTML. So let me basically add a few more things. So first of all, what is HTML? HTML is, as I mentioned, hypertext markup language. It's a language. It's a markup language. Markup language basically means that it can show you, let's say, some content which is formatted in a certain way. So for example, if I'm writing, let's say h1, this basically means one of the headings. So there are 6 types of headings which are available in HTML. I can go to h3 all the way up till h6. And the browser already knows how to render this pattern or how to, let's say, render this formatting on this screen. So let's say this is the biggest heading probably. And then this is h2. You can say this is h3. So you can say this is the biggest heading, this is h2, this is h3. So this is at the very basic level, as you can see. So this is what HTML is. I mean, of course, it won't be justice to just say that this is what HTML is. Let me tell you that these are tags, right? We can call this an h1 tag. This is an h2 tag. This is an h3 tag. And similarly, we can have tags for different things. So let's say you want to have logical divisions inside of your HTML page only. For example, you may want to have a header, you may want to have the main body or the content of the page, then you may want to have a footer. So based on that, you can actually have things called as like this, a div. Div basically helps you to divide the page into multiple separate units, right? And let me talk about a few important tags. So one of the basic tag happens to be the HTML tag. The meaning of HTML tag is that we are basically starting HTML document. You can always give the version which you are using, right? You can talk about the language. So for example, lang equals to in, you will find in a lot of web pages. Then comes the second level comes, sorry, this is not correct. The spelling of head is not this. Then comes the head tag. And then comes the body tag. So in this way, there are many different tags. And each tag comes with its own set of, you can say, let's say responsibilities, that what is this, what will this tag do, what will this tag do. So all the tags, they have certain functionality, and all of the tags will try to achieve that functionality, right? Now there are many tags in HTML, I think hundreds of them. Again, you can ask ChatGPT, can you print all the HTML tags? And similarly, let me actually show you image src placeholder, holder, yeah, for HTML. So just give me a second. Beautiful image placeholders in your web, yeah. Yep, this is a placeholder. Oh, Unsplash, or oh, that's interesting. I didn't know about this. So yeah, let's do it. 600, 400. Yep. I'll come back. Let me show you how I can add img also. So img stands for image. src stands for where shall we fetch the image from, right? So you can check online and you can find a lot of such sources, as you can see here. Let me try to say 1024 and let me say 768 here, right? And now I can close this tag. Now, as you can see that you will find two types of tags primarily. One wherein you are having an opening tag and a closing tag, right? But here, if in case of this img, you see that this is the same tag and we are closing it here like this, okay? Cool, let me just save it and let me refresh. Let's see whether we get, yeah. So as you can see, we got the image based on the size which I mentioned here. Let me actually bring it to something like 600 into 200. Let me see whether it is available or not. Yeah. So this is 600 into 200, any image. So you have to provide the source for this image. Now this image can actually be present in your local machine only. So yeah, given that I do have for a different project, yeah, let me just pull it here. Move, yeah. So as you can see that computer lab.jpg is present in the same level or in the same directory as my index.html. So what I can do is I can simply write another img. I can say src equals, then I can provide this computer, yep, and I can close it. So now let's go ahead and refresh it. So now as you can see, oh my god, this is like a huge image. So if the image is huge, so you can always say that width equals, let's say, I think 600 should be enough, and then height, let's say 200 should be enough. Save it again. So as you can see now, this is the image which is coming from Unsplash. Is this the correct name? Let me verify. Unsplash, that's correct. And this one is coming from my local machine. So the idea is that as long as you know the source of an image, you can always insert it into your page, and you can make your page visually more appealing, right? So yeah, I think by now ChatGPT would have already, yeah. So as you can see that there are many tags. So these are the tags for the document structure. So as I talked about, like HTML, then head, then title, meta, then let's say link, style, script, and body. So I will be using both of these tags, and I'll also be using this title tag. Now meta tag is used for metadata about the page. This meta tag used to be very important many years ago, when all the search engines used to look for things like meta description, meta keywords. But these days, because of the things like machine learning and artificial intelligence, search engines have become very smart, and like they are no longer dependent only on the meta tags. To what extent they are dependent on the meta tags? Well, some SEO expert might tell you, but that is not the only factor anymore. Now, as I talked about different kinds of headings, you have from H1 to H6. Similarly, paragraphs and text formatting, you can see that you can have a P tag for the paragraph, B for the bold, I for the italic. Then similarly, strong, emphasize, small, and so on. You can also have this code, right? And then there's something called as pre-formatted, that is pre. So whenever you want to write some kind of a code in your HTML page, you can use these tags, right? Then if you want to have like links to other pages, then you can use this A tag. I will show you how to use this tag. Then if you have to insert images, we have already seen how to insert images. Then if you want to create a list of data, so you are given some list, you want to have an unordered list or an ordered list. So for example, this is an unordered list where we have bullet points. I'm talking about this example. This is a list, right? So you can use UL for that. And if the list is ordered list, then you can use OL. And if you are talking about all the items in the list, then you can use LI tag for them. LI means list item, right? Then similarly, you can have forms. Now, what is a form? Form is exactly what it means in the real practical life. So you must have seen a lot of forms which you have to fill. So most of the forms are meant to basically ask user for some kind of information which user has to fill. And then the form can be submitted to the server. The server can take in the information, right? And then we have tables. If you want to show some tables, you can use all these different tags. And similarly, you have semantic elements like the headers, nav, main, article, and so on. Similarly, you have media tags for things like, let's say, audio, video, source, and track. So you can always have videos also in your HTML page. You can have audios also in your HTML page. You would have seen that. Then similarly, we have some other tags for different things, right? So by now, I think you have understood one basic thing, that HTML is nothing but a file, or you can say some kind of a formatted data, which is then given as the input to your browser, and it is the responsibility of your browser to interpret what exactly that HTML is, and then produce a beautiful or an appealing page which we are able to see and interact with, right? So as you can see, this is just a very basic page, and this is an example of a slightly more advanced page, because you can click, you can interact with this page. Similarly, this is an example of another advanced page. You can click on any of these, then Google will take you to the corresponding website, right? Okay, so let me actually talk about a few more things. Maybe we can have a small form as well. So let's just ask ChatGPT to design that for us. Create a small form with just one, let's say, text field and nothing else. Yeah, that's completely fine for us. So we just want one text field, so we can ask ChatGPT to create it for us. Okay, so it's basically creating the full code, as you can see, but we really don't need all of it. So all that we need is the simple input and the submit. So we are not even looking for the submit. Let's use just these two, right? Okay, let me actually take the complete form. Now that it has been generated by ChatGPT, let me just copy it and paste it here. Yeah. So as you can see that it is saying action equals submit. I will talk about what this means. Method equals post. I will talk about what this means as well. Then there is a label, which is for text field. We have written enter text. Now there is this input tag where we are saying type equals text. So as you can see that this is again type text, ID is equal to text field, name is text field, and this is, let's say, required. So we really don't need to worry about all these options which are available with each of the tag. But yeah, I think this is a good time to introduce the fact that almost all the HTML tags, they have certain attributes. For example, this form tag is having this action attribute, it's having this method attribute. Similarly, this input is having this type attribute, this ID attribute, this name attribute. So these are important. In some scenarios, more important. In some scenarios, they can be considered optional, right? But they are important. So let us just go ahead and see what we have on the screen after making all the changes. So as you can see that there is some text which is written here. It says enter text. Now I want you to notice something. As soon as I click on enter text, this gets highlighted. And this is the reason why we have to use this for equals text field and ID is the text field. So whenever you have a label and for is given the ID of some other input element, then whenever we click on this label, the element where like whose ID is mentioned here will get highlighted automatically. That's the reason for using this for. And yep, we can type something here. We can type something text. We can, let's say, write Rishabh, my name, or we can probably write anything, let's say some Jan Feb, depending upon what exactly. Let's say if I'm searching for something, how to learn Python, and I can submit this data. Now, as soon as somebody clicks on submitting the data, I think what I will do is, for now, I will simply say that some magic happens behind the scenes and you get a completely different page in certain scenarios. And in today's modern applications, you do not get a completely different page, but the data gets refreshed on the same page. You must have heard about the term called as SPA or the single page application. Like React or Angular applications, they are all single page applications. So in the past, what used to happen was the complete HTML used to get updated. But with these new frameworks and these new libraries, only the data gets refreshed. So we don't have to bring in all the HTML each time we are going from, let's say, one page to the other. Now, yes, I think, so this is essentially what HTML means. So it is hypertext markup language, and it basically allows us to define how what exactly are we going to present with the help of this web application, what all should be visible on the web page, right? Now let me do one thing. Let me actually comment this image tag. Let me comment this form tag, right? Now, let's say you are in the 90s, right? So in the 90s, web applications used to be very simple. So let's say this is the 90s Python tutorial, right? So let's say we have a Python tutorial in the 90s, and we will say something like, now I'll be introducing one more tag, that is a href equals this, and then we will write chapter number 1. Let's say in the chapter number 1, we are going to talk about intro to the language. Okay, then in the next one, I'll say a href equals this. Second, wherein we will say setting up the environment. And then we have, let me just copy paste these. Yeah. So in the third one, we will say, let's say basic data types, right? Similarly, in the fourth one, we will say something more advanced, probably conditionals, right? In the fifth one, we will probably say, let's say loops, right? And then in sixth one, what we can say is, let's say functions. Now, if we go back, if we see, so these are all links, right? Now let me do something let me actually have all of these as list items, and I don't think I'll need to give these numbers. So let's just do that. So this is, so OL, as I mentioned previously, is basically ordered list, right? And now what we can do is, now I can put in li elements. Li stands for list element. Let's cut it from here. Let's do li post here. And similarly, let's do another, let's say li post it here. Another li and post it here. Similarly, let's do it again. And once again, yes. Okay, cool. So let's go back and see. Yeah. So as you can see that this is the 90s Python tutorial, intro to the language, setting up env, data types, conditionals, loops, and functions. But as you can see that these links are not working, they are not producing a new page. What is the reason for that? Well, the reason for that is we haven't specified where they should go. So let me actually write first.html, then I can write second.html, I can write third.html. I know these names are not very descriptive, but just forgive me for this, for the sake of this tutorial. Yeah. So as you can see, we have first.html, second.html, third.html, fourth.html, fifth.html, and sixth.html. Let me just save these and let me just refresh my page. So as you can see again, let me click on intro to the language. Now my Nginx server is saying that not found. And then there is a number also which is present. What does this number indicate? So this number indicates the error code. Whenever your web page is trying to interact with a remote server, your remote server can produce different kinds of codes based on whether the request was successful, whether the request was not successful. Now, if the request was successful, you will always get a code which is starting from 2. So like they are mostly 200, 201, 202, and so on. If your server says that it's basically a redirect, you want your server wants to redirect your browser from one location to the other, then it will send some code which is a 300 series code. If there is an error from the client's end, now what is the error from the client's end here? The client is trying to access a page which is not even existing on the server. Then you will see the 400 series errors like 400, 401, 402, 403, and so on. Now, if you get an error in the 500 series, then there is something very serious, something to be worried about for the programmers who are creating or who are building the website, because 500 means that there is something wrong on the server's end only. There is absolutely nothing wrong on the client's end, but something wrong on the server's end. So which means that the engineers who have designed or built the website, they need to take care of that. So in this way, different HTTP codes, they talk about different things. And let me actually mention this point that all the magic which I've been talking about, the things happening on the back end, there is a reason why I didn't want to involve them in this specific video, but we will touch upon each and every topic. We will talk about what exactly is that magic which happens as soon as you type something in your, let's say, URL bar. The reason why I didn't want to touch them right now is because they all deserve one video each of their own. So for example, DNS deserves its own video, and all the other backend things like, what exactly is a server, what exactly are HTTP methods, what exactly is, let's say, like other concepts like a database or an API. All these things, they are all very important. We should know about them. And I will definitely be creating a lot of content around these also. So the idea is that you don't need to worry about them. Just be with me for some more videos and you will definitely see those videos coming up. Awesome. So we have defined the URLs, we have defined the links, but I haven't got those files. So let me just go ahead and create those files quickly. So let me say first.html, then let me create second.html, let me create, let's say, third.html, let me create fourth.html, and let me create fifth.html. Right now, if I go back, first.html is empty. So this is not an error. The page is showing nothing because there is absolutely nothing present in the first.html file. So yeah, here is the first.html file. I can say chapter 1. Right, and I can definitely write some content. Okay, so let me actually take some help from ChatGPT. Let me ask it whether it can help me here. Can you produce some HTML on the topic this? Yeah, as simple as that. Now, if you see that we are living in the times that we really don't need to let's say do the hard job of writing HTML, because ChatGPT can do that for us. But still, why I wanted to talk about these simple basics is because understand this fact that this is not an HTML tutorial, but this is more of a front-end video. I really wanted to talk about front-end, what exactly front-end is. And the reason for doing this is because if you have to any of the today's technologies like let's say what is React, what is Angular, what is Vue, and how are these technologies like if you have to understand the complexity of these technologies, then it is very important that you have a solid understanding of the basic fundamentals, very basic things as basic as like as I mentioned, that what happens when somebody types in the URL in this URL bar and hits enter, or hits, let's say, I think mostly it's hitting enter only these days. So in some scenarios, initially I have seen that there used to be a button here, but at least Chrome is not showing me that button. Yeah, no problem. Cool. So yeah, it has actually generated some HTML. So now you can see that some more tags are also being used, but I really don't want all of the fanciness for now. I just want something to be present on the page. Yeah. Now let me go back. Now if I refresh the page, now you can see that I have a chapter 1 which says what is a programming language, types of programming languages, why learn programming languages. I think we have deviated a bit from our Python, but it's okay, not a problem. Cool. So now what if I want to go back from this page to my index.html? I can simply create let's say another back home link. I can make it slightly fancier. Yep, as you can see, I can click on back home and I'm back to this page. So now you can see that this is actually starting to become slightly more of the kind of websites which you would have seen, right? I mean, this is still very basic, but I hope you're getting the idea that now we are adding some kind of interaction, that by clicking on some link, I'm able to go to another page. This is some form of interaction only. Of course, this is very elementary, but yeah, we are getting there, right? Now, so this is one form of interaction. So what happens here is that as soon as you click on this link, the browser knows that you have to be navigated to a different page altogether. Now, browser does its complex logic. When I say browser does its complex logic, I really want to point towards the things like, so for example, if I click on this back button, I'm automatically taken to the previous page. So which means browser somehow already knows it is having some kind of a stack. Yeah, it is a last in first out, I guess. Yes. So it's basically maintaining some kind of a stack which is taking care of that what was the last visited page, and it can take you back to that page. So all those complex things the browser is doing. Apart from that, the browser is also taking you to that specific page where you wanted to go, or for which page you clicked the link, right? So I hope you've got this basic understanding so far. You have been able to be with me on this journey of understanding the front-end side of the game. So now from this 90s Python tutorial, I think, or at least from whatever we have talked about so far, you have understood that at a very basic level, HTML decides what will be visible on the page. So yes, it is HTML that decides what will be visible on the page. So before I move on to the next topic, let me actually add one more element here. So this is HR. HR stands for horizontal line. And I wanted to add one more element, that is a button. You can click me and let me add one more button. Says nothing will happen. Quite interesting, right? So yeah, as you can see, I'm able to click the button, but yeah, as it is mentioned here, that nothing will happen. So whenever I'm clicking the button, nothing is happening. But at least we can see that on the UI, we are able to see a new kind of an element just by writing some, I would say just one line of HTML. So in this way, with the help of HTML, we decide what is it that will be visible on the page, right? Now, let's jump to the next thing, that is CSS. What is CSS? What is the full form of CSS? That is Cascading Style Sheets, right? Style happens to be at the center of CSS. So that is what it is used for in the HTML, right? CSS says that how exactly will the page look. HTML says what will be visible. CSS says how will it be visible, like how exactly will it present itself, right? So CSS is all about the style in which the page will be visible. If you like some page on the internet, then there is a high probability that the CSS of that page is very well written, because CSS decides how exactly the page will look. Now, that is a very abstract term, that how exactly will it look. If I have to make it slightly more concrete, what can I say? So what I can say, well, I can say that CSS talks about things like what kind of padding will be there, what kind of margins will be there, what kind of let's say fonts will be there, what kind of colors will be there, like what will be the space which will have to leave between the two elements, right? And then what else? Whether there will be any kind of borders or not, whether there will be any kind of shadows or not. Like some elementary animations also can be done with the help of CSS only. Then an important aspect, what kind of layout will be there? So all these things, they're all described with the help of CSS. So there are three ways in which you can apply styles to your HTML. So let me start with the very basic one, and that is to basically have this style as an attribute. So here, as you can see, that style is an attribute. This is called as inline CSS because I'm writing the style right here. That is with this h1 tag. So let me write it as color, let's say red. Now, if I go back, you can see that this is the 90s Python tutorial. So with the help of CSS, I can decide that how exactly my HTML will be visible on the page. I can style my HTML, right? So this is one of the ways where you can straight away write the style, let's say as an attribute of this tag. One other way could be that inside of my head tag, I can have my style tag as well, right? Oops, sorry, not like this, like this. Yeah. Here I can write h1, or I can also write dot, let's say, okay, first of all, let me write just h1 only. Now, if I use this term h1 here, and if I write color, and let's say I give some probably some good color, let's say green, forest green. Now what does this mean? This means that for all the h1 tags on this page, the color will become green. Let's just go and check that. Oh, okay, because the inline style is there. So in this scenario, whatever style is closest to you will be applied. So for example, for this h1, as you can see, given that it is having its own style, at least it is having its own color, so it is going to ignore this style, right? Now let me write one more h1, and here we are not going to give any style. So I will write this is a green heading. So let me save, let me go back. Yeah, as you can see, this is a green heading, right? So on all the h1s which are present on this page, let's say yet another h1, now you will see that on all the h1s which are present on the page, this style will apply. Do you want it? Well, the answer is no, not in all the scenarios. In some cases, you may want to apply some style to all the tags, but that is not the case with most of the web pages. So what you'll have to do? Well, you will have to simply use another technique. So here, this is called as a class. When we are using a dot in front of, let's say, this name, so this basically becomes the name of a class. Now, if I say heading, then I say color. Let me define some purple color, right? Now what I can do is now I can probably remove this one, right? And if I see, this is also black and this is also black. Now let's say I only want to make this one as purple, this yet another h1 as purple, and I want to leave this one as black only, right? So what I can do is I can simply say h1 and I can use the attribute called as class, and then I can say equals heading. Now whatever is written inside of this class will be applied to this element and to no other element, and that's the best part. So in this way, what you can do is you can write your styles once and you can use them wherever you want to use them. So and moreover, like, it is not that you can only make, let's say, these headings as what I'm trying to say is that it's not that you can only apply this to a heading. You can actually apply it to any other thing as well. So for example, I can say li and I can say class equals let's say heading, right? So this can be done. Refresh the page. Okay, nothing happens because there is absolutely no text. Let me write some direct text here. So as you can see that the direct text will come in this purple color, but given that this is actually inside of this li, so that's why this is not applying to this a directly. However, you can always talk about different relations. So like in this scenario, as you can see that a is basically a child of li, right? Similarly, li is the child of ol. So when you're doing any kind of styling, you can actually make it very, very complex. So let's go and take some help from GPT. How to style an a tag which is let's say a child of li tag, which itself is a child of, let's say, ol tag, right? That's very simple relation. Now it will tell us that how exactly you can style it. You can actually use these kinds of relationships. Okay, I didn't want it to write the complete HTML, so that's where prompt engineering comes in. So, but yeah. Oh my god. Okay. So this is how, like, this is all I was looking at. Actually, I could have told it that we don't want the HTML. We are only looking for the CSS, but not a problem. So as you can see that this is how you can describe these relationships. As you can see that there is an OL, then there is an LI, then there is an A tag, right? So there's like deep nesting, you can say. And like there is absolutely nothing stopping us from making a copy of this. And we can directly paste them here, right? Let's make them slightly more presentable or more readable. So let's go back to the page. As you can see that they have become, oh my god, they are looking very nice, right? So this is the idea. Like, I just want to give you an idea. I really don't want to go into the details of like what all can you do with CSS or how to do a specific thing in CSS. I mean, all that is for you to cover because CSS is absolutely not very difficult to learn. It's a matter of a few days actually. So if you type CSS tutorial, W3 School comes up. I have been using W3 Schools for a long time. It's a great place, right? And you can see that there are a whole lot of things like there is home. I mean, I really don't want to talk about home, but yeah. So colors, backgrounds, borders, margins, padding, height, width, then the box model, then let's say the outline, text. So all these are the CSS things, like all of them basically help us to style the web page in one way or the other. So this is what CSS is. CSS helps us to make the web page slightly more, I would say, stylish. That is what CSS is used for, right? So we talked about HTML, we talked about CSS. Like we just kind of gave an introduction purely from, let's say, a front-end perspective. I won't say that this is a comprehensive tutorial, as I previously mentioned. That is not the agenda. The agenda is very simple. The agenda is to understand what is a specific, let's say, tech used for, right? Now, if you understand what exactly, let's say, HTML is, what exactly CSS is, you can always ask ChatGPT to generate an HTML page along with styles for an edtech website, for example, or let's say an edtech web app. There is already a tutorial. There is already a video on this channel where I have done these experiments, wherein I think I asked ChatGPT to generate something very similar to this. Now, you can always do this. But the objective of this tutorial is to understand this front-end layer, that what is HTML, how exactly is it used to generate websites, then what is CSS. In some of the coming tutorials, we will talk about what exactly is JavaScript. So I hope you have got the basic idea that every web page which you see whenever you are, let's say, doing web surfing, wherever you're typing anything on your browser, all of those web pages, they are built up of HTML. HTML decides what will be visible on the screen, and CSS decides how exactly will it be presented, which means that the CSS talks about the style part. Now let me just do this copy paste here, and let me actually push this to the second.html. So now if we go to, let's say, let me refresh it. If we go to second, you can see that we have got an amazing looking page here. This is looking very nice. We have home, we have courses, about, contact, then there are featured courses. So all this is generated by GPT. So you can actually take a lot of help from ChatGPT when you are writing HTML. But like the agenda of this video was to help you to understand what HTML is used for, what CSS is used for, right? So now what we've done is, like in one of the previous videos, we learned how to set up Nginx on your machine. In this video, we understood that how exactly you can host some HTML pages, what exactly HTML is used for, what exactly CSS is used for. And in the next set of videos, we will try to cover more topics, more advanced topics. Like I shouldn't say advanced topics. We are scratching the surface. Our focus is to understand it more from the front end perspective. So if you have to have an understanding, let's say, from a full stack perspective of how exactly is a product created, or more precisely, how exactly is, let's say, a web product created, then you need to have an end-to-end understanding, and that is the mission we are on. So with this, I think I would like to stop this video for today, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed this one. If that is the case, I really want you to follow along on this journey. Please feel free to comment and let me know how you're finding this information which I'm trying to share through these videos. And please subscribe so you keep on getting the updates as I launch further videos. It was great having you here. Thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next one, and bye-bye.